In my video on emotional sexual abuse, where I list a bunch of examples of what emotional sexual abuse can look like, a lot of people have left comments asking if this scenario or that scenario counts, and a lot of them have been asking that basically because the other person was a child. Right? I didn't want to use anybody's comment just because I didn't want to put it on blast if it's their personal story, so I used my own comment, and I'm trying to kind of just generally answer a lot of those questions kind of in one. Please keep in mind, I'm not a therapist or other professional. I am a therapy client, a nerd who's read trauma books, including some CSA trauma books. I have CSA trauma myself, both physical and non-physical forms of sexual abuse, but I'm not a professional, so keep that framing in mind. My understanding of what causes trauma is really an overwhelmed nervous system. Emotional sexual abuse is abuse that is conveyed verbally or emotionally, but that does sexual damage or causes sexual trauma. What these comments are really asking is, was I traumatized by this? And really only you can know that. Some of what I would maybe ask myself if I wasn't sure if something caused me trauma or not would be things like, did this specific experience impact my relationship with myself? Did it impact how I feel about my body? Did it impact how I feel about my sexuality, about my gender? Did it change how I feel about physical intimacy, about romance, about sex, about self-pleasure? Those kinds of questions can kind of get you looking at whether or not you have a sexual wound. Also asking yourself what your experience was when the thing happened. Did you feel completely shocked and terrified? Did you feel overwhelmed? Did you dissociate during this treatment? Did you feel extremely betrayed? Did it feel like the world got turned upside down? Did you feel ashamed? Did you feel really helpless? Did you feel completely powerless? Did you feel overwhelmed or overpowered, dominated? Or did you numb out emotionally? Did you feel nothing? Did this experience change your behavior or your relationship with that person? Did you start doing or stop doing anything in an attempt to make yourself feel safer? And then I also just kind of wanted to go over my general beliefs. My belief is that children can cause trauma in other children. There isn't some huge difference between physical and non-physical. So in the same way that if one child molests another child, we still acknowledge that as sexual abuse. I believe that can transfer to emotional sexual abuse, aka non-physical sexual abuse or covert sexual abuse as well. Multiple of the comments that I've seen have asked about different age gaps. Some people think that there is some objective amount of age difference that must be had in order for it to count. I think that's nonsense. Age can correlate with perceived power. And when we perceive someone as being much more powerful than us, it is a lot easier for us to feel really helpless, and that can increase our odds of being traumatized by that person. I also don't think that age always comes with power. I think it usually does, but there are other factors that can cause a younger child to have more power than an older child. Additionally, the way that children are raised can significantly impact their access to their fight response or to their own voice, to advocating for themselves. Children aren't taught to advocate for themselves. Others are actively taught that they shouldn't speak up, that they can't say no, that their job is to be obedient. And so sometimes children are traumatized from parenting methods that teach them to be obedient and to not make a fuss and so on. And so then those children might find themselves in relationships outside of the family, even with other children, still feeling like they just need to comply and appease and so on. And that is a big risk factor for them perceiving themselves as powerless and not knowing how to advocate for themselves. Maybe there's two teenage friends. The friend even says like, hey, do you want to hear about like what I did with my girlfriend last night? If the other kid has been so trained to be agreeable, they might say, sure, even when they really don't want to. They might now be exposed to a story that they didn't want to hear. And of course, this can happen with, hey, do you want to look at this corn website with me? Or do you want to do this thing with me? Like, not being able to say no or not being able to advocate for yourself can be a really dangerous thing. I also wanted to throw in here, I feel strongly that children hold a lot less responsibility for their own behaviors than what adults should hold for their own behaviors. There's less blame there, I guess. However, it's possible to be the victim of somebody who you can't really hold accountable for their own behavior. They might truly be a victim. My cat's meowing. They might truly completely not know that something is okay because it has been so normalized for them that they just repeat it. And once they learn better, they might never repeat that type of behavior ever again. Maybe if this is your type of story, I feel like I could never see this person, like I would never want to label this person as an abuser or as a perpetrator or as a PDF or anything like that. That can be true. And it can also be true that when they didn't know better, they did something that harmed you. You can be abused by somebody that you don't really see as an abusive person. You can be traumatized by somebody who you think is a good person and who really just didn't know better. The risk that a child could unintentionally do harm is higher. But again, intent doesn't negate impact. Ultimately, you get to decide what labels make sense for your experiences, and I would really encourage you to trust your own experiences, trust how things felt to you.